I'm 76 years old, and my office knew me better than my family. That's not meant to be dramatic. It's just true. The people I worked with for 31 years, they knew how I took my coffee, what made me anxious, when I needed space. My wife probably couldn't tell you any of those things. My son doesn't know if I even drink coffee. I was a project manager at a construction firm. 31 years. Started in 1979. Retired in 2010. My wife Patricia and I have been married 53 years. We have one son, Michael. He's 52 now. Lives in Seattle. We bought a house in the suburbs in 1973. 3 bedrooms, small yard, the kind of house you're supposed to want. Construction doesn't have suppliers delay, contractors make mistakes. Weather changes everything. I'd leave by 6:30 most mornings. Patricia would be in her robe making breakfast for Michael. I'd grab coffee, kiss her cheek, not really a kiss, just have it and leave. Home by 7, 8 o'clock, dinner wrapped in foil. They'd already eaten. I'd eat standing at the counter, going through mail, thinking about tomorrow's schedule. Patricia would talk about her day, something about Michael's teacher, a broken appliance, her mother. I'd nod, make sounds. I was listening, technically, but I was making mental notes about which subcontractor to call in the morning. Weekends I did paperwork, brought it home in my briefcase. Patricia would suggest a movie, a restaurant, a walk. I'd say, maybe later. I'd say, I just needed to finish this one stack. The office became more real to me than home. At work, I knew where everything was. I knew what was expected. There were clear goals, clear ways to succeed or fail. Home was murky, emotional, unpredictable. I never knew if I was doing it right. At work, people respected me. They came to me with problems, and I solved them. I was good at my job. Projects came in on time, under budget. Clients asked for me specifically. I mattered there. At home, I felt useless. I didn't know how to help with Michael's homework. Couldn't fix things around the house. Ironic. Managing entire building projects. Didn't know what to say when Patricia was upset. So I stayed late at work, where I was competent. There was this secretary, Linda. 20 years in our office. She knew my schedule better than I did. Knew which days I'd be stressed, which clients made me irritable. She'd order lunch without asking, because she knew what I liked. She'd remind me about my wife's birthday, have a card ready for me to sign. One year Michael was 12 or 13. I forgot his birthday. Completely forgot. Came home, there was a cake present. Patricia's face, not angry, just tired. She said, "You forgot." Not a question. I apologized. Said work was crazy. Major deadline. It slipped my mind. Michael said it was fine. He was getting good at saying things were fine. Next day at work, I mentioned it to Linda. Casual conversation. 2 weeks later, she started keeping track. Every birthday, every anniversary, she'd put a note on my desk the day before. My secretary knew my son's birthday. I needed reminders. Michael grew up quiet. Teenage years were hard for Patricia. She wanted me to talk to him, man to man, but I didn't know how. I barely knew him. He played baseball in high school. Patricia went to every game. Every single one. I went to maybe 3 total in 4 years. There was always something at work. Always a reason. He went to college 2 hours away. After graduation, got a job in Seattle, other side of the country. Patricia cried for a week. I said it was a good opportunity. Said he needed to build his career. She looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. He calls Patricia every Sunday. They talk for an hour, sometimes more. She knows everything about his life. His wife, Emma, from Ohio, 2 sisters, graphic designer, their favorite restaurants, weekend plans, trips. I know almost none of it. When Patricia hands me the phone, We talk for 5 minutes. How's work? Good. How's weather? Rainy. How are you? Fine. Then I hand the phone back. I retired in 2010, 61 years old. Patricia was thrilled. Said we'd finally have time together. Travel, all the things we'd put off. First few months were okay. We took a trip to Arizona, saw the Grand Canyon. But mostly, I didn't know what to do with myself. I'd wake at 6 out of habit. Patricia would be sleeping. I'd make coffee, read the paper. Then what? I started going back to the office. Not to work, just to visit, coffee with old colleagues, see how projects were going. 2, 3 times a week. Patricia stopped suggesting trips. We settled into a routine. She had her lifebook club, volunteer work, friends. I watched TV, read, went for walks, visited the office less after the first year. People moved on. New hires who didn't know me. Patricia's sister got sick, cancer, fast moving. Patricia spent months helping her, asked me to come along sometimes. I went once, sat in the hospital room 2 hours, didn't know what to say. Told Patricia I'd just be in the way. Her sister died in spring of 2018. Patricia was devastated. They'd been close their whole lives. She'd cry at random moments. Middle of dinner, watching TV, sitting in the garden. I didn't know how to help. I'd pat her shoulder, tell her it would be okay. She'd nod, and I'd feel like I'd failed some test. Michael came home for the funeral, stayed a week, spent most of it with Patricia. They'd sit in the kitchen for hours talking. I'd stay in the living room, give them space, I told myself. One afternoon, Michael asked if I wanted to take a walk. Just us. We went around the neighborhood. Didn't talk much. Then he said, "Do you remember my 8th grade science fair?" I didn't. I said I wasn't sure. There were so many school events. He said, "I built a model bridge. Took me 3 months. Mum helped every night. Won 2nd place in the district." I said that was great. Asked if I went. He said, "No. You had a deadline. A hospital project, I think. Mum took pictures. You looked at them for maybe 30 seconds, then went back to your paperwork." Not angry, not even hurt, just factual, like describing something that happened to someone else. I apologized, said I was sorry for missing it, for missing a lot of things. He shrugged. "It's okay. It was a long time ago." But it wasn't okay. I could hear it, all the things that weren't okay, accumulated over years, compressed into those 4 words. Patricia had a stroke last year. Small one. She's mostly fine now. Some weakness in her left hand, trouble with certain words. Could have been worse. I was terrified, for the first time in decades. Genuinely terrified. She was in the hospital a week. I was there every day. All day. Michael flew in. Emma came first time I'd met her in person. They stayed at the house. I barely saw them. I was always at the hospital. One evening, I came home to shower. Michael was in the kitchen. Emma had gone to bed. He made tea. We sat at the table. He said, "You really love her." I said, Of course I love her." He said, "I've never seen you like this. So worried, so present." That word, present, it echoed for days. Patricia came home. Recovery was slow, but steady. I helped her, made meals, managed medications, drove her to therapy. All the things she'd done for years, for her sister, for Michael when he was young, for me my entire life. I'd never done any of it before. She was appreciative, said thank you for every small thing. But there was sadness in her eyes. Not about the stroke, about the fact that it took a medical emergency for me to be there. We sit together now, most evenings. Living room, she reads or does crosswords. I read news on my tablet. We don't talk much. We never really did, but the silence feels different now. heavier, full of all the conversations we never had. I think about my old office sometimes. The building was torn down 2 years ago. They built condos. I drove by once, couldn't tell where my office had been. 31 years, and there's no trace. The people I worked with, I don't talk to any of them. We said we'd stay in touch. We didn't. They have their lives, families who know them, friends who actually know them, and I have Patricia, who I love but barely know, and a son who calls out of obligation, and memories of projects that don't matter anymore. I was important at work. I mattered. Problems got solved because of me. Buildings got built because of me. But no one remembers. The buildings are still standing, but my name isn't on them. My family needed me. Not my project management skills, just me. My time, my attention, my presence, and I gave them everything except the dot. You can't build a life with people while living somewhere else. And I lived at the office. I lived in meetings and deadlines and site inspections. I came home to sleep. My family were like roommates I was friendly with but didn't really know. If you're 40 years old, telling yourself you're building a career for your family, ask yourself this. When's the last time you had a real conversation with your wife? Not logistics, not schedules, real conversation. When's the last time you knew what was actually happening in your kid's life? Not grades or activities, what they're afraid of, what they dream about, what makes them feel alone. If you can't answer those questions, you're not building something for your family. You're building distance. And you don't notice it while it's growing. You notice later, when you try to close it and realize you can't. You're strangers. Strangers can be polite, can be civil, but they can't be close. I have a wife who loves me out of habit and history. I have a son who's dutiful. They're good people, better than I deserve. But I don't really know them, and they don't really know me. The office knew my coffee order. My wife doesn't know my fears. The secretary remembered my son's birthday. I forgot it. My colleagues knew when I was stressed. My family didn't know when I was happy. You think you're investing in your future by working those extra hours. You're not. You're borrowing from your present. And the interest rate is everyone you love becoming strangers. Patricia's in the kitchen now, making dinner. I'm at the dining room table. The same table I used to cover with paperwork every weekend. It's clear now, has been for years. Nothing urgent, just space. I should go help her, ask about her day, tell her something real. But we've been surface level so long, I don't know how to be anything else. That the office is gone. The people have moved on. The projects are finished and forgotten. And I'm here, in a quiet house, with a woman I share history with, but not much else, waiting for Sunday's 5-minute phone call from a son who knows his duty but doesn't know his father. I was so important at work, and now nobody needs me at all.